Hi, everyone. Welcome to Marriage Matters with Glenn and Tanya Coleman. I'm Tanya. This is Glenn.
Don't get it confused.
We're coming to you today just to have a brief discussion about teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I know that we have all said that phrase before. Most of us have, or we've heard someone speak on it. But we want to talk about today, what does that mean in marriage? What does teamwork mean in marriage? And I believe that God gave us a great idea of what that is supposed to look like. And so we're going to go to Ephesians chapter 5 today, looking at verse 21. And it says, be subject, I'm reading from the Amplified Bible, be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. It says, wives, be subject, be submissive, and adapt yourselves to your own husband as a service to the Lord. For the husband is head of the wife, as Christ is head of the church, himself the Savior of his body. As the church is subject to Christ, so let wives also be subject in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So it sounds like we both have some giving to do.
That's some good. And about when you say teamwork, the number one, the first thing that I think of is, and we used to say this back in the day when I used to play little sports. But we used to say, or the coach used to say, remember, there's no I in team.
Right.
But under our breath, we would say, yeah, but there's an M and an E. But what I'm saying is, there's no I in team. Right. Teamwork makes a dream. In other words, it's not about me.
Right.
The marriage is not about me. Right. It's not about I.
So it's not all about your vision.
It's not all about my vision.
Your desires are.
No.
But it's about our
vision. It's about our vision. And so when we come into marriage, we have to learn, because marriage is, we say it all the time, marriage is the two becoming one. 2 equals 1. Shout out 2 equals 1, married for life.
Yeah, all right.
Married for life, all our married for life couples.
2 equals 1, baby.
But it's coming together. So even if, when we're single and, we have, God gives us this great big vision and God gives you this great big vision and we're going in separate directions. But when we come together, I guarantee you that it's God's intent for those visions to come together.
Correct.
And if you really would take your visions and line them up, I guarantee you they'll line up together.
Right. It's almost like taking two, back in the day in the classroom, we would use the 2 transparencies, right? And so the teacher would present the lesson and they'll have one part of the lesson on one transparency. And then when they wanted to show you something else, or maybe it was the review questions, okay? A lot of times they would put the questions up and you had to go through and answer the questions, and they had the transparency there. Then when they were ready for you to check your answers, they come and put the second transparency on top, sister. Right? And it will have the answers on the second transparency on top. So when our visions line up, it's like 2 transparencies, one being laid on top of the other, and they fit together.
That is so good. That is so good. Yeah. We can stop right there. You are the key. You are my transparency key.
All right, now I like that.
Watch out now.
Okay.
Right, let's finish this. But so, in order for teamwork makes the dream. Teamwork makes the dream work. The vision work.
Yeah.
And and here's the deal. Even in marriage, where there's 2 visions, there is what we call vision or the vision. Right?
And what does the vision do?
It separates.
It breaks that number down even more. It makes it smaller.
It's a shame, and I've seen this so many times, how believers come into a marriage with 2 visions, and they never take the time to do the transparency thing. So I've seen, and I hate to even say this, but I gotta say it. But I've seen pastors lose their families trying to build a vision.
Right.
And I'm saying somebody didn't line up right. Somebody, wasn't. So how do you do that? You do that by your feet. Oh, go ahead.
Or we take off and we run with our vision without bringing our spouse, or you know what I'm saying, inviting our spouse to come along with us, or inviting our family, our children to come along with us in the vision that God has given me. And so when they don't feel a part of it, then we're going in those two separate directions.
And I mean, again, I hate to say it, but I'm just gonna put it out there. We're trying to help you. I know a lot of, I've heard of a lot of PKs. You know what that is, right? Preachers' kids. And they say something like, God took my daddy. It never was designed, in this quote unquote thing we call ministry. It's designed for us to do it together. We always say it's a family affair. And as much as we can, we try to get our daughters involved in what we do in ministry. Because they have a part in that.
That's right.
So, but how do you get to that part? It's Ephesians 5, what Tanya was reading earlier, Ephesians 5 and 21. And when we go to Ephesians 5, especially the brothers, we always go straight to verse number 22. Wives, be subject. Wives, submit to your husband. Wives got to submit. But in verse 21, he says, really, we submit to each other.
One to another.
We submit. I submit to her, and she submitted to us. I mean, to me, not us. Just one. No others. No, but she submits to me. And then in verse 22, and verses 22 through 26 explains, here's how you submit to each other.
Yes.
Here's how you submit to each other. So he says, wives, go. You want to do this? Read that one. Talk about 22? That one again.
Sure. It says, wives, be subject, be submissive, and adapt yourselves to your own husband as a service to the Lord. So he's saying to submit and to adapt. That, for me, that means that there are some adjustments or some adaptations that I need to make in order to submit. So that doesn't mean that I have to give all of myself up or forget who I am. I hear a lot of women say that I've just lost myself in the marriage, or we had kids and I lost myself. Yes, I have to make some adjustments, but it's not completely giving myself up. And in exchange, what does the man do? So for the man,
and I just want to say one thing on that. That word submit, how about this is another word for submit? Support.
Yes, that's good.
The word submit is to be under, but think of it like as a support, to support your husband, right? So you supporting the vision.
It makes me think of the foundation of a structure. It's upholding that structure.
So that's what the wife. So that's how the wife submits to the husband. How does the husband submit to the wife? He submits to the wife in verse 23. Verse.
You're right.
23. For the husband. No, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So you give yourself up for that's how you submit to her. You sacrifice for her. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to do, but I did them anyway. Why? Because my family needed me to support them. I had to make sure that my daughters had food to eat. They had clothes, close to where I made provision for my family. So I gave myself up for her. And then it says, so that he may sanctify her, having cleansed her with the washing of the water with the word. Washing of the water with the word. Real quick, we're running out of time. What does that mean? Here's what it means. It means that the other way I submit to her is I speak words of encouragement and affirmation to her.
That's good.
And if it doesn't benefit her, I should not speak it to her.
So good.
Because what she's designed to do, and here's what I found out, she's designed to take my words and reproduce them.
Correct.
Take my seed and reproduce them.
That's good.
Okay?
That's good.
And so, guys, if you don't want to see it in her, don't say it to her.
That's so good.
So a lot of times I might have to put myself under when I want to tell her off or tell her something, tell her what I think. No, I have to give her what she needs. And that's how we submit to each other.
Yes.
And that's how teamwork makes the dream work. So thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.